What's up, guys? It's Adam from Life of Adam. Came back with a brand new video. I have a whiteboard behind me, and I'm going to go through Lifeguard test questions that you're probably going to get. I have 9 of them, and we're going to break down what I'm thinking, why I'm eliminating some responses and some answers, and why I'm picking the certain answers. And you're going to realize it's a theme when you do this. It's always going to be the best sounding answer. It's going to be the safest answer, and it's going to be the one that primarily answers the question. So there could be answers that are also true, but it's about what is the most true. So we'll start over here, and I have abbreviated versions of these questions, but it hits the points, so you'll be able to follow along. So here's a question you'll probably get within your first 10 questions of the test. And it goes something like this. What is the primary purpose of scanning your zone? And you're gonna look at the first response. Count the number of patrons. You might do that, but again, we're looking at the word primary, which means the most important reason. So this, I would say no. We'll go to the next one. Identify hazards and ensure safety. Now, this covers a lot of territory. The word ensure safety is one of the primary reasons why you're a lifeguard. Identify hazards, that's the primary responsibility of your job. You want to shoot things down before they escalate. So this right here is looking really good, but we're not going to say that's the answer just yet. Enforce pool rules. Yes, that's true, but it's not the primary reason. And monitor water temperature. There's always going to be an answer that's just way off, and that's just the one for this question. So right here, the right answer would be B. Identify hazards and ensure safety. So pretty straightforward. We'll start a little light, but they'll get more tricky as we move along. Next question. What is the recommended compression depth for doing adult CPR or doing CPR on an adult? Is it 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, or 4 inches? This is one of those things where you have to study. If you're not familiar with doing CPR on a dummy, you're not there in the course, it's just like guessing. But you can assume that since you're putting compressions on a human being, 4 inches is pretty strict. You're going to break someone's ribs. So you can eliminate that. 1 inch seems right? 2 inches could also be right. And 3 inches could also be right. So in order for you to get this question right, you're going to have to study. It's 2 inches. This is one of those things that will be available to you during the course. You'll get a worksheet that has all of the tempos. You'll learn how to do it in the class. You'll actually be with the instructor, and the instructor will say you want to aim for about 2 inches of compression depth to get the full range of motion while also not risking breaking the ribs. But it's better to break someone's ribs than just to let them die and not give them CPR. So keep that in mind. Next question. What is not part of the RID factor? This is a question where you have to know the acronyms. There's plenty of these in the course. It could be RID, it could be RICE, it could be HANES. There's all these acronyms where if you don't pay attention to what each letter means, you get a question like this, then you're in the dark. So what is not part of RID? Recognition, intrusion, distraction, or distance? The right answer is going to be distance. This isn't part of it. Recognition, intrusion, and distraction are the reasons why you're not able to make a save or recognize a problem while you're lifeguarding. So there's a theme. These 3 are part of the theme. You want to do what's not, and that is distance. There's going to be like a little bit of a ring here, so I apologize. It's from the light, but I'll help you read this if you guys can't see it clearly. So what is the first step of using an AED? Keyword, first. Not what is a step of using the AED. What is the first step? And this is why this question can be tricky, because you'll see it in a second. Press the shock button. Probably not, because the pads aren't on, the AED isn't on, things aren't situated and plugged in. You're not going to press the shock button. Attach the pads. A lot of people think this is the first thing you do because you get the AED out, you're like in a panic, you want to quickly help the victim. And you would think to put the pads on first before you press the shock button or turn it on. So this is the close answer. Turn on the AED. It's going to be between these 2 guys right away. And analyze the victim, the heart rhythm. That's what the AED does. That's not something you do first. So that's off. It's going to come down to these 2. And it's going to be the matter of if you study. And you just got to trust your common sense. It's going to be turn it on. It's not going to be putting the pads on. It's going to be turning it on. Once you turn it on, it'll tell you, please put the pads on the victim. So you'll learn this in the class when you're actually doing it on a dummy. But if you are casually studying, this could trip you up, especially if you think the pads are the first thing you do. Next question. An active drowning victim, what does it look like? So you're looking for characteristics to describe someone who's actively drowning. Okay, so number 1, or A, calmly calling for help. Usually when someone's actively drowning, they're frantic, they're looking at you with a worried face, they're not going to be calmly calling for help. So the word calmly eliminates this one right here. They could be calling for help, but calmly, that's not right. Kicking violently and moving to the edge. They could be kicking violently, but since they're moving to the edge is like the side of the pool where they can grab onto. This is something that we can't eliminate right away, but has its suspicion. Next one, struggling at the surface, unable to call for help. This sounds right on the money. So before we confirm it, we're going to look at D, but right now this is the leader because they're struggling at the surface, which is active drowning, and they're unable to call for help because a lot of people experience shock when they're in the position of drowning and not being able to swim. So this one's the leader. And D, floating motionless in the water. That's a passive victim. That's not an active victim. Since you want an active victim, this person's breathing, this person's responsive, this person's moving. So the right answer here is going to be C, struggling at the surface, unable to call for help. But you kind of see how I'm going through these in my mind, my progressions, and there's usually going to be two answers that are really close and one of them that aren't. And so you just kind of have to go through them. And if you study and you have the common sense, you'll probably get it right. 6, how often should lifeguards rotate on average, like recommended? These are talking about like shift rotations. Is it an hour? Is it 20 minutes? Is it 10 minutes? How often should you rotate shifts in guard towers? A, every 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, you could. It's quick rotation. Some places that have a lot of lifeguards could do that, but I would eliminate that. Every 20 to 30 minutes. This is something where you'll work as a lifeguard, and if you just read the textbook or skim some areas, you'll know that this is usually the recommended time frame. So we'll keep that in mind. Every 1 to 2 hours, that's a long time. I wouldn't do that. Only when fatigued, that's definitely not right because you're not going to work as a lifeguard till you're fatigued. You're going to have an actual schedule to abide by. So the right answer is going to be 20 to 30 minutes. That hits that sweet spot. Up here, I'm going to go on this side. Child choking, can't cough. What is the first step? So this is a child who's choking, probably grabbing their neck, and they can't cough. So you know that their airway is blocked. What should you do? A, give 5 abdominal thrusts. That sounds right. This is something where you'll get a worksheet in the class and you'll see like, okay, you are supposed to do abdominal thrusts. So keep this one in mind. We'll put a pin in that for now. B, perform back blows and chest compressions. You do perform back blows. So this is right. But the chest compressions, remember, the child is choking and can't cough. They're responsive. They're not passive on the ground. And compressions implies it's like CPR. So this isn't right because this is an active choking victim because you can assume from the question. C, check child's pulse. This person's choking right in front of you. You know they're responsive. They can't breathe. They can't cough. You don't need to check for pulse at all. And then D, encourage them to cough harder. This is the one that you just know isn't right. So I don't really need to explain that one. But given that you're eliminating all of these, you can go with this one. Give 5 abdominal thrusts. Number 8, suspected spinal injury. What is the best water entry? A lot of people get this question wrong because they'll throw in like, it's in 5 feet of water, or if it's in like 3 feet of water, and they throw in the measurements of the pool to kind of throw you off. So you think like, oh, if it's a certain amount of feet, I can do this jump. It's really always going to be a slide-in approach. So compact jump you don't do because all these entries that aren't slide-ins disrupt the water. And if someone has a neck injury, you don't want the waves and the water to move them and misalign them. So it's not going to be the compact jump. It's not going to be the stride jump. No matter how deep the pool is and what they say, it doesn't matter. It's going to be the slide-in entry. The feet first dive, no. It's always going to be the slide-in entry because it's the calmest, it's the smoothest, and it's not going to disrupt the water. So you go stabilize the head. That is the most important thing. And then the last one for this video. How long to check for breathing during a primary assessment? So when you're approaching a victim, you want to check for pulse and breathing. You're putting your ear near them. You're trying to look at their chest, see if it's going up and down. Are you feeling a breath on your face? You're checking for pulse. How long should you be doing that for? Is it A, 3 seconds? You can just assume that's very quick. So no, it's not going to be A. That's not enough time. Is it going to be B, 5 seconds? A little bit more time. So this is the close answer. So we'll put a pin in this. C, at least 5 seconds, no more than 10 seconds. This covers a lot of territory. you'll know in the course it's going to be around 10 seconds, and you want to count slowly. So like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, all the way to 10. So this is what I learned when I took the course a while ago. I'm pretty sure it still holds up. So this one right here looks really good, but we'll check the last one. 15 seconds. D. That's too long. You don't need to do it for this long. So 5 seconds could be right, but this covers the most territory, between 5 to 10. So this right here is the right answer. So here's just a rundown on test questions you will see in my thought process. This is a great reference to study. So if you're someone who's taking the class, who's taking the final exam pretty soon, you have to get an 80% or higher. So I highly recommend you check the playlist on my channel. I have test questions like this and the answers and my thought process. So it will really help you study, and you couple this with like looking at the stuff that you were given in the class, and you skim the textbook, you look at the definitions, you will be in great shape and you will pass on your first try. So hope you guys enjoyed, like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks so much. Peace out.